Are Turning Point USA clubs coming to Arkansas schools?
We'll discuss that, and we'll have an update on the Iran war today on the Undercurrent. Greetings and salutations, people of Earth.
Hey, Uncle Warren.
Hello. We're having a bit of an issue on Substack. Normally, we're able to stream on there, but today, as they say, no dice. But we're on everywhere else, I believe. We're on, at least we're on Facebook and on YouTube. Are we on Instagram as well?
Something's going on with that, so we may not have an Instagram thing today, but that's okay because it always makes us look really funny.
I know, right? I hate how Sandbloom does this. You know, they kind of the way they auto format the stuff. I think there's a way you can like manually go in there and set up your own thing. I'll have to check that out at a later date. But yeah, Twitter was down for a little bit too. There's all kinds of tech bugaboos in the air right now. So fingers crossed, we'll get through the show and everything will be good. So, but you know, as they say, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. So, yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. We got to see each other this weekend, Uncle Warren.
Yeah, you came over for back up to Chicago, had some wine and pizza and some cheeses and clams and pickled peppers. It was a fun time.
It was. We had a lot of fun, and Chuck's friend Ed did some experimental pizzas.
Yeah, it was very
good.
They
were really good.
Ed's a good cook. He can take that kind of stuff and turn it into gold, Jerry, gold. But yeah, it was a fun time. So, and you know what? No hangover the next day. That's how you know it was good wine. And you saw me. I drank a pretty good bit.
Well, I brought some of my favorites. I don't know if there was that one bottle left. I don't know if you guys have had it yet. But I brought some of my favorite wines, so I was glad you enjoyed them. Wine must be shared.
Yes. It was, a good time was had by all. We got to talk about all kinds of things and stuff. And it's good getting friends together like that. So,
yeah.
But we got some news to get to today.
A whole lot of it.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Let's get to the riptide. Let me get rid of this. You can get it away there. And oil prices, they're sneaking up there. They're back. That's right. So we have first we have Michael James McAllister in the chat. Greetings to you. We got Chuck and Kamishori Kate and Max Sarjay. Chicago Corner leaving us a little note in there too. So good to see all of y'all. Be sure to check out Chicago Corner Network. They've been doing some really good work with the local Chicago candidates for state and national offices. So check out their channel and check out those interviews too. The election was last night there. So, and interesting stuff if you're into the politic like that. But I know people are definitely worried about these oil prices. Oil prices climb past $100 again as U.S.-Israeli war on Iran enters its third week. Global oil prices have now risen back up to over $100 per barrel as the brutal U.S.-Israeli war against Iran enters its third week. So as of this was Monday, I believe. So I believe it may have gone down since then. The Brent crude price per barrel now stands at around $103, rising to $120 per barrel after the war began. The price dropped to around $90 before shooting back up. And the price began surging back towards 100 over the weekend when Trump announced strikes on the Gulf island of Karg, where all of the Islamic Republic's oil exports are handled. So Americans will feel it for a few more weeks, but at the end, we will have removed the greatest risk to global energy supplies, said U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright, referring to Iran. Trump has also recently said that stopping Iran from having nuclear weapons was far more important than energy prices. Says the guy who has his gas paid for him. U.S. intelligence reports have refuted Washington and Tel Aviv's claims that Iran is weaponizing its nuclear program. And this was also after the fact that they had the 12-day war last year, and Trump said, oh, yeah, we took out all their nuclear facilities, so it's all good. So took out the nuclear facilities. Why do you worry about nuclear? Can't really make them? Question mark. The Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's energy passes, remains closed to the U.S. and its allies. Iran has allowed some states, including Turkey and India, to move ships through the strait, yet around 10 other oil tankers trying to cross in violation of Iran's warnings have been targeted. Several countries, including France and Germany, have rejected Trump's proposal for a naval coalition to escort vessels through the strait. We warn the aggressor government and all its allies that the slightest attack on the energy infrastructure and ports of the Islamic Republic of Iran will be met with our crushing and devastating response, a spokesman for the Qatam al-Anbiya headquarters of the Iranian Armed Forces said last week. In the event of such aggression, all oil and gas infrastructure in the region in which the U.S. and its Western allies have interests will be set on fire and destroyed, he said. And just kind of an update to that, last night, Israel bombed several nuclear power sites in Iran, and then Iran responded by hitting Israel's nuclear weapons place, which they say they don't have, but yeah, they managed to get it blowed up too. Crazy times. These oil prices keep going up and down and up and down, but these gas prices seem to remain stagnant, though, right?
Well, yeah, and I'll say something else, Uncle Warren. Typically, I'm always looking for flights back up to Chicago, and if you go 30 days out, you get some of the best prices. And I've noticed that they've jumped. Typically speaking, I can get something 30 days out at $200, for a ticket, and now I'm looking at minimum $239, $249, and I'm already seeing that happening. Anecdotal, but something to be aware of. And again, people who are having their flights and gas paid for don't necessarily see this, but for common ordinary people like myself, that's got an impact.
And I'm sorry, I should clarify. When I said stagnant, I mean consistently high gas prices. That's what I meant by it not coming down, because this has happened before. Oil prices have shot up. And then once the price of oil has gone down, it still took a while for the gas prices, gasoline, the petro, as our friends across the pond call it, tends to stay up as well. So, it's and Chuck's saying that they're at 97.26. And a lot of these prices are kind of at the beck and call of who's making announcements, right? Like the energy secretary at one point said, we successfully escorted a tanker through the strait, which was not true. He had to delete that tweet, but in the time that he had that up, the price of oil went down. And then once people found out that was BS, the price went up. So you're going to see it go up and down and up and down and up and down. And it's probably going to get worse the longer the strait stays closed too. So, some crazy stuff. We'll get more to in the Man of War Stings segment when we talk about more of the war stuff. But let's get back to some domestic issues besides oil prices. Excuse me. What do we?
We've got a few.
Yeah, so judge blocks RFK Jr. from implementing arbitrary and capricious vaccine overhaul. Interesting. And what advocates call a major victory for public health, a federal judge on Monday temporarily blocked U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from implementing a series of moves that critics have warned would weaken childhood immunization efforts and increase the likelihood of serious disease outbreaks. U.S. District Judge Brian E. Murphy of Massachusetts, an appointee of former President Joe Biden, invalidated Kennedy's reorganized advisory committee on immunization practices, an ACIP panel, which was set to meet later this week. Kennedy, who was confirmed by the Senate last year over the objections of tens of thousands of experts, and despite being a purveyor of vaccine misinformation, allegedly replaced ACIP members with several people with ties to the anti-vaccine movement. Murphy also blocked the committee's unprecedented changes to U.S. immunization recommendations, writing that the arbitrary and capricious move stands in stark contrast with the long-established decision-making process he called a method scientific in nature and codified into law through procedural requirements. Unfortunately, the government has disregarded those methods and thereby undermined the integrity of its actions, the judge said. The Department of Health and Human Services under Kennedy revised the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that's the CDC, childhood immunization schedule so that fewer vaccines are now universally recommended for all children. The agency also reclassified vaccines that were previously endorsed for all children into categories in which vaccination depends on designated risk groups and consultations with medical professionals, among other charges. 29 states and the District of Columbia have announced that they would not follow the new CDC immunization recommendation. Plaintiff's attorney Richard Hughes, the fourth, said in a statement that this ruling is a momentous step towards restoring science-based vaccine policy making. The judge recognized that the actions of Secretary Kennedy and the advisory committee are not grounded in science and that they are destructive, he added. We are thrilled that the court has discarded the baseless vaccine schedule changes made by Secretary Kennedy and is blocking the advisory committee from doing further damage to vaccine policy, he said. Dr. Robert Steinbrook, Health Research Group Director at Public Citizens, said in response to the ruling that Judge Murphy's decision is a much-needed victory for a sane approach to federal vaccine policy that relies on science, not misinformation and conspiracy theories. Kennedy's hand-picked ACIP has been a national embarrassment, thoroughly lacking in the ability to make careful, fact-based decisions, he added. The judge's ruling offers a responsible path for public health and evidence-based federal vaccine policy. There's more here. Anthony Wright, executive director of the advocacy group Families USA, said in a statement, "When politics override science, our children pay the price. Today's decision helps ensure that medical evidence, not ideology, guides how we protect kids from preventable diseases." He continued, Secretary Kennedy's attempt to remove universal recommendations for routine vaccinations only increased confusion among medical providers and families. The routine vaccines being questioned by HHS are the product of centuries of rigorous science and medicine, and are why children today don't die from measles or suffer the lifelong consequences of diseases we long ago learned to prevent. For a country at large, diverse, and mobile as ours, universal vaccine recommendations are the safest and most effective way to stop outbreaks before they start. It's a fairly long article, and it goes on here, but basically, politicizing these vaccines is never a good idea. I understand the confusion over a lot of things that, especially what happened during the pandemic.
Right.
There was at one point where the dictionaries changed the definition of vaccine from something that's supposed to be a preventable thing to something that's a treatment. And that kind of lends to the confusion of all this too. What do you think?
I am pro-vaccine. I'm pro-science-based medicine and that sort of thing. I do think that things were handled very poorly during the COVID pandemic, the most intense parts of it. And I think that did polarize people, and so this got politicized. I think also the medical industry here in the U.S. is partially responsible for why people are so suspicious. When health insurance does not, we all know it's a joke. In this country, we people do not trust their doctors. They see their doctors as either being uncaring, and that's sometimes due to health insurance policies, or they see their doctors as trying to keep them sick so they can rake in money. Same thing with pharmaceutical companies. I think that a lot of this is the product of distrust that was not sown strictly by political elements, but by the healthcare industry itself. And I'm not surprised to see this. I'm sad about it, and I'm deeply concerned, particularly with things like measles, which can be very dangerous. And I'm very concerned, deeply concerned about all of that. But I think that the groundwork for this was laid a long time ago, and it was not a particular political faction.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is a both sides of the aisle kind of thing too. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. No, I think when you have people who are demonizing their neighbors over certain health precautions that they are taking, and I've seen this multiple times. You see these fights on social media, you see these fights in public when people were squaring off in public about masks and that sort of thing. I think it's been used politically and very, very cunningly. Mm-hmm. But this is something that has been ginned up, and now we're going to be seeing the fruits of it. We're going to be seeing measles outbreaks. They're already happening. Curiously enough, Octavia E. Butler's Parable of the Sower did, in fact, anticipate this. I think she wrote the book it was published in 1993, I think. And it was a fairly near future scenario, but she was saying, yes, there have been measles outbreaks. Can you imagine? And everybody's reading this as science fiction, and then it's like,
yeah, a lot of those times those sci-fi predictions come to fruition like that. And this is probably something we're going to be having to discuss for a while, not just with this administration and with the last administration, and probably the next one too as well. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, guess what? Pam Bondi in a bit of hot water, maybe, as the U.S. House panel subpoenas the Attorney General in the Epstein probe. 50,000 point stock market. Yay. That's her thing. Sorry. She likes to say that in congressional hearings. So it's like, what's your name, ma'am? 50,000. Okay, never mind. A U.S. congressional committee said Tuesday it had issued a subpoena to Attorney General Pam Bondi to testify behind closed doors. Not a big fan of that. Should be open, but whatever. In its probe of the late convicted sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein, Bondi faces accusations that the Justice Department has concealed the names of powerful associates of Epstein in its release of millions of documents related to the late financier. Under the subpoena, Bondi would give a sworn deposition to the House of Representatives Oversight Committee next month, April 14th. A Justice Department spokesperson said the subpoena was completely unnecessary. Yeah, that's what. Nothing to see here. Because lawmakers have been able to privately review unredacted versions of the Epstein files at a Justice Department facility. Bondi and her deputy, Todd Blanchard, are due to give the committee a separate private briefing today. She continues to have calls and meetings with members of Congress on the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which is why the department offered to brief the committee tomorrow, the spokesperson said, referring to a law Congress passed nearly unanimously in November. As always, we look forward to continuing to provide policymakers with the facts. Sure. The facts. Representative James
Just
Comer.
facts.
Yeah, just the facts, ma'am. Representative James Comer of Kentucky, the Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee, said in a letter to Bondi yesterday that the panel wants information about the Justice Department's collection, review, and release of files connected to Epstein. Epstein cultivated close ties to powerful political and business leaders before and after he was convicted in 2008 of soliciting prostitution from a minor. He was arrested again in 2019 and allegedly died in jail while facing federal sex trafficking charges. His alleged death was ruled a suicide. Lawmakers have complained that redactions in the Justice Department's files appear to go beyond the limited exemptions allowed in the Epstein Files Transparency Act. The department has also declined to publish a large volume of material citing legal privileges. Bondi said more than 500 Justice Department lawyers worked on a compressed timeline to review reams of material. Justice Department officials have acknowledged errors in the rollout of the files, but have denied claims that they have protected any powerful individuals. Wink, 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 wink. Sorry. So, man, I get tickle. The Epstein files have dogged Bondi throughout her tenure as Trump's attorney general. Some of Trump's supporters accused her of a cover-up last July when the Justice Department said it would not release additional material related to its investigations of Epstein after raising expectations for more disclosures. The statement drew new scrutiny of Trump's past friendship with Epstein. Trump says he broke off ties with Epstein years before his 2008 conviction. And has repeatedly said he did not see any evidence of sex trafficking. He has not been accused by law enforcement authorities of criminal activity related to Epstein yet. So, and I think there's an addition to this too. There was a House member that is calling for articles of impeachment against Pam Bondi over her failure to release all of the documents and releasing documents that were redacted to protect certain individuals. So, but again, this happening now is probably not going to do anything. Maybe this is setting up something for November once the Democrats take over the House, which more than likely they're going to do when they win the midterms. And so I don't think we're going to, this is just like kind of like a preview, I guess, right? They're putting it out there now, and then November, maybe they're going to do something about it. What do you think?
I wouldn't be surprised, although we've got some other stories today that I think they're pulling up a whole bunch of different things that they can pull out to skew things about. You mentioned something earlier on, I'll tell you, Uncle Warren. I don't like closed door hearings either. I very, very rarely do I think that they're appropriate. They really mess things up. I used to work in regulatory compliance on behalf of a education company. And there were times when you would have these commissions, these local commissions. We would go to their meetings to find out what was going on to ensure that our products were in compliance. And what would happen is if they realized that they'd screwed up on something, they would have a closed door meeting and suddenly release their findings days before something had to be implemented. And or even the day before, and we wouldn't know about it, even though we had been at the meeting, because they went into a closed door session. They were able to cover up their own foolery and really mess things up for education companies, but also people who were being licensed in various trades. So yeah, closed door meetings, hearings like this. We're supposed to have open government here.
Exactly.
We're supposed to.
Right. Well, and the thing is, they take advantage of the drinking game I call national security, where everything basically that embarrasses themselves is deemed under the umbrella of national security. Now, there are state secrets that we don't want our country to let any other country know about, particularly the enemies of the United States, which at this point are probably a lot of them at this point.
Well, we've made a lot of them. We've made a lot of enemies at this point.
It was our own doing.
I can't say I blame them.
No, I mean, yeah, you know, whether the kids say find the lie, I can't find the lie. But yeah, but in instances like this where they're covering up for people, not the victims. They're not. I mean, they have redacted the victims' names, obviously, which is good. But the people who are accused, just because you're putting their names out there, that doesn't mean that you're coming after them legally. You're just providing sunshine.
Yeah.
Like you said, you want people to know who are in these files, what the in what context are in the files too. Because there's some people in the files that are listed that have nothing to do
Yeah.
with it. They're just like a mention of a name by somebody, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that they were in there. But some of these people, like we've seen the arrests and firings and prosecutions across the world that were related to the Epstein files. And then all of a sudden the Iran war happened. What? And then people stopped talking about the Epstein files. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that works out like that? Well, you were mentioning traveling, right? With the high gas prices, high fuel prices too. But we also have a shortage of people at the TSA, apparently.
Oh, don't tell me about it. I was at O'Hare at 6 a.m. yesterday, Uncle Warren. And it was something. It was an adventure. Let me just put it to you that way.
Yeah, well, the TSA is not exactly a fun house on its own, but then when you have less people there, it's probably very chaotic. So thousands of flights canceled or delayed as weather and TSA staffing up and travel. Yeah, we've had some crazy weather too. I'm glad you made it back, by the way.
Yeah, so am I.
So air travelers face hundreds of flight cancellations and thousands of delays on Tuesday in the wake of powerful storms that struck the Midwest and eastern seaboard. Many airports also continue to struggle with disruption from reduced staffing at often jammed security checkpoints amid a partial government shutdown that has lasted more than a month. Now, this is the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security, which is an umbrella for some of these departments, including TSA. The partial shutdown that started Valentine's Day. Oh, love is in the air.
Happy Valentine's Day. You're my sweetheart.
We love you, but we don't love the DHS, so we're not going to give any money. Fun fact, ICE is under the DHS umbrella, but ICE is fully funded, so this doesn't affect ICE per se.
Imagine that.
Yeah, it's funny how that works out like that.
Yeah.
The partial shutdown has held up paychecks for employees of the TSA as Congress deadlocked over immigration issues. More than 300 TSA staffers have quit since the shutdown began, and call-out rates have more than doubled, according to data obtained exclusively by CBS News. Yeah, isn't that funny how, like, if they expect you to go to work, but they won't pay you, and then all of a sudden, oh boy, I'm feeling verklempt. Oh,
maybe it's that measles,
Yeah, it could. Yeah, it's probably the the cholera from 1863 that's acting up again. Monday had the highest call-out rate so far, TSA data shows, followed closely by the number of absences on Sunday and Saturday. At some major airports, more than 1/3 of TSA staffers called out Monday, with rates of 35% out in Houston, 37% in Atlanta. These are big hubs. Nearly 39% in New Orleans and 30% in New York's JFK. At Philadelphia International Airport, additional security checkpoints are set to close starting Wednesday as the partial shutdown drags on. At the same time, airports are crowded with spring break travelers and fans heading to March Madness games as the annual NCAA men's and women's college basketball tournaments ramp up. Yeah, I think they begin tomorrow, I believe. More than 1,100 U.S. flights were canceled as of Tuesday night, and over 8,200 were delayed, according to flight tracking site FlightAware. The disruptions were most severe at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, with more than 200 flights canceled and more than 500 delayed, including departures and arrivals. Peak wait times at standard security lines Tuesday stretched to 2 hours at the Atlanta airport, about 103 minutes in Houston, and about an hour in Austin, and right here at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Flight delays and cancellations also piled up Monday at some of the nation's largest airports, including those in New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. The storm system that dumped heavy snow across the Midwest raced toward the East Coast, with high winds reaching gusts near 50 miles per hour in parts of New York, according to the National Weather Service. Kelly Price, who was trying to get home to Colorado after a family vacation in Orlando, said her Sunday night flight wasn't canceled until early Monday. By that time, the only place for us to sleep was the airport floor. So we're all tired and frustrated, she said, adding that the soonest she and her family could book another flight doesn't leave until Tuesday afternoon, which was yesterday. The nationwide cancellations on Monday included about 600 flights in and out of Chicago, O'Hare, more than 470 at Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta, and over 450 at LaGuardia in New York, according to FlightAware. So, citing severe weather, the FAA ordered ground stops at Hartsfield-Jackson and Charlotte Douglas International Airport, and ground delays at JFK and Newark Liberty International Airport. And then, yes. So, and we've discussed the partial government shutdown with the Department of Homeland Security, the fight for that, which seems to be kind of misleading, because a lot of these Democrats say they're fighting to defund ICE, but by not funding the DHS, it's not bothering ICE at all. And I think a lot of them know that, but they're just kind of keeping that part hush hush. So if you're traveling, this is a big time to travel, like they said, with spring break and whatnot going on. A lot more headaches for people flying.
Absolutely. As I said, I was there. I was at O'Hare at 6 a.m. It was lines were snaking around. It was hard to figure out where to go because there was such a backup. So you have the pre-check line, then you have the regular security lines. I was flying first class, and normally we have a priority line we can use, but they eliminated that. And it was just nobody seemed to know where they were going. Fortunately, everybody kept their cool. As frustrated as people were, I did notice that it seemed like the airlines themselves did not have enough employees on the floor to show us where to go. And again, I don't know what that's all about, but they really should have had that. We organized ourselves pretty well. And I'll say that. And that was a pleasant thing to see. Although there was one man who kept on, he was this muscle-bound something or other at the front, who kept on screaming. He was trying to find somebody, but he managed just to scare everyone. Once we got through TSA, I mean, we didn't have to keep, we could keep our shoes on, but we had to take everything else out. And so that happened. And once we got it was okay, although the flight was delayed. There is a flight that goes from Chicago to Bentonville several times a day, but it's just one plane going back and forth. So there was some mechanical delays. But yeah, I mean, there was just a lot of chaos, a lot of gate changes at the last minute. And that's, I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. And that's probably going to keep on happening too. Even before this partial shutdown, the TSA wasn't really a pleasant experience in itself. So, but maybe the bright side of this is less groping.
Well, that depends on how you feel about being groped, Uncle Warren. For some people, hey, this is the most action I'm going to get for a long time. I mean, me, I'm right. Like, could they at least buy me dinner and flowers first? We can have a conversation,
Yeah, it's like some people don't. I'm not even flying anywhere. I'm just going through. TSA just so they can cop a feel. So yeah, I haven't flown in a long time, so I haven't had the pleasure of experiencing that for myself. So I have to live vicariously through other people. Do me a favor. Can you turn your mic gain down just a little bit?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, because I think Chuck says we're getting a little hot.
All right, hold on.
Because Chuck's a bit of a
how is this sounding?
Try it again.
How is this sounding?
I think that sounds pretty good.
Okay.
I think you're fine. Good enough for government work, as they say. Speaking of government work, the Postal Service hiking up those stamps, the prices, that is, as U.S. Postal Service seeks to hike stamp prices to 78 cents. Wait, what? I haven't mailed something in so long. I didn't even know what prices on these stamps were now, but 78 cents, Jesus. The U.S. Postal Service said today it wants to raise the price of first class mail stamps to 78 cents from 73 cents, effective July 13th. The proposal, which must be approved by the Postal Regulatory Commission, would raise overall mailing services product prices by 7.4%. USPS in January opted not to hike prices for the first time since 2022 after a series of price hikes in recent years. Price stamps are up 46% since early 2019 when they were 50 cents. Jesus. The last time I remember the stamps were like, I don't know, it was like 20 something cents, man. That's how long it's been since I've used a stamp. That's crazy. In March, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, or as some people call him, Louis No Joy, who led efforts to restructure the money-losing U.S. Postal Service for nearly 5 years, resigned effective immediately. Oh, that's too bad. DeJoy had pushed for aggressive price hikes in part to offset the impact of inflationary pressures at USPS, who has lost more than $100 billion since 2007, including $9.5 billion in the 12 months ending September 30th, but reported in February net income of $144 million for the 3 months ending December 31st. As electronic communications have proliferated, the Postal Service has been hurt by an 80% decline in first-class mail volume since 1997, and it is now at its lowest level since 1968. In February, USPS adopted new service standards that will save the agency at least $36 billion over 10 years. In 2022, President Joe Biden extended $50 billion in financial relief over a decade to USPS, while Congress separately forgave a $10 billion loan. USPS announced a restructuring plan in 2021 that aimed to eliminate $160 billion in predicted losses over the next decade. USPS now projects $80 billion in losses over the period and plans further cuts to address the shortfall. Trumpy, who in February called the agency a tremendous loser for this country, or a tremendous loser for this country, said he was considering merging the Postal Service with the Commerce Department, a move Democrats said would violate federal law. And while I'm not in favor of them merging with the Commerce Department, I'd love to see banking come back to the Postal Service. Or I don't know if it was there before, but people were talking. I've heard some people talk about banking through the U.S. Postal Service, and that sounds like something that might actually save them. But I could be wrong. What do you think?
That was something we were talking about back in the HLM days, postal banking, and post offices have historically done things like money orders. They were known for money orders and that sort of thing. And so, I think that having that kind of a public bank, that could actually work out well for people. I've been very frustrated by what I've seen happen to the Postal Service over the years. If those of you remember me from the HLM days, I had a running bit about reporting on exploding mail trucks. Because we had found out that on average, a mail truck was exploding every 4 days. And because that's how bad things were, and that's how badly managed this constitutionally mandated service, by the way. Ben Franklin, he'd want that in there. He baked that in. Yeah. He baked that in there. So this is not it. But you can. It's going to be harder to remove the Postal Service or to eliminate it, but they can make it very painful, which is something we're talking about in other areas, things that are going on right now. Okay, Yanina, I want to tell you, post offices still do money orders, but not all of them. I'll never forget going into a post office, asking for a money order, saying, we don't do them here, you have to go across town. And then as I was leaving, a guy came in and wanted to buy a book of stamps. And they said, we don't sell stamps. Wow. And at that point, I just got the hell out. Yeah.
Where are you going to get stamps if you can't get them at the post office? That doesn't make a lick of sense. That's crazy.
Well, and then I was down here. I went in, and somebody was asking about overnight mail. I said, we don't do overnight mail anymore. If you want, you can go over to that little shipping store across the way and you can do UPS or DHL or FedEx. But we no longer do overnight mail.
Well, and online forums and stuff like that, where you don't have to mail in stuff that much anymore anyway, probably has hindered that too. So for those who are actually still using the post office and mailing things like that, it seems like they're seeing the brunt of these price hikes. Again, like I said, it has been a long time since I've ever bought like a regular first class stamp to mail anything, because like I said, most of it is you just fill it out online and it saves paper or whatever. It's a paper saving thing, right? But still, it's something we still need. It's still a service that people do need to use. So,
and then particularly for legal matters, sometimes it has to be sent certified or registered mail. You need that as well. So.
Yeah, otherwise, if you're just shipping packages or something like that, a lot of times you're using FedEx or UPS or that sort of thing too. So they have competition there, where they've been have competition for a long time. So, so that's the old riptide there. We're gonna swim over to get the catch of the day. And we're talking about Turning Point USA in Arkansas schools. What's that about, Lainey?
Well, down here in good old Arkansas, we know, for example, that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the governor down here. Like her father, Mike Huckabee, they are very devout Christians, but of the Zionist variety, as we also know. And something very odd recently happened. Governor Sanders signed a proclamation encouraging the development of high school and college encouraging high school and colleges to establish Club America or Turning Point USA chapters. They're apparently part of the same organization in every school. She is promoting this a partisan group. Now, she's claiming that this is in the name of intellectual freedom and encouraging critical thinking, all of which she could have done in a simple proclamation encouraging schools to encourage students to start support student organizations that encourage freedom of speech and debate and commentary on civic issues. But no, she is promoting Turning Point USA and Turning Point USA affiliated clubs. She's naming them. She's calling them by name. And I live in Arkansas right now. I don't consider Arkansas home. Chicago is home, and it will be, by the grace of God, home again soon. But for now, I'm living down here, and I am perplexed, and I know a bunch of people down here are pretty much fit to be tied. And I think what I want to point out here is I support student organizations. I support any kind of student organization. And you remember these from high school as well, I'm sure, Uncle Warren. These are student-led and managed organizations. They'll have a faculty sponsor, which they need, but they're student-led and managed. And, there they are. They have these clubs and organizations. It gets the kids together. They can share common interests, and they support development into adult people who have opinions and who have interests and who have connections to their community. But when you have the governor of a state supporting a ideologically driven organization like Turning Point USA and its Club America, that is absolutely, that is disturbing. All of this could have been done in a separate proclamation, a very different proclamation that did not name a group. She's putting her stamp of approval on this, and it's already causing some very serious issues within the schools. And it's like one of those things, I'm just looking at this and saying, why? Who thought this was a great idea? We've already got polarization all over the place. And now we have a governor putting the seal on that. And you know that, I grew up in the Chicago area where things were, we understood, and there were people from various affinity groups and opinions within your community. But you're talking about a state where there are a lot, there are rural areas, there are a lot of small towns. And if you've got a club that has the governor's endorsement on it in a school, what can happen to that student body? What about kids who are not in alignment with that particular organization's principles? What kind of exclusion can start happening in that school? And what kind of resentment can crop up? We've got a report here that there was one of the clubs started in Fayetteville, which is a university town, not far from here. And there have already been some confrontations that have taken place at that school. I guess the police were called, which we do not want, we do not need right now. And then apparently after the Erica Kirk event, where the governor was giving her support, there were protesters, there were confrontations, physical confrontations, and people were arrested. Wow. Talk about ginning stuff up. Again, all this could have been avoided if the governor was really concerned about students having the opportunity to sharpen their minds, engage in leadership and engagement and learning these things. She could have said that. But in her proclamation, she specifically endorsed the Turning Point USA clubs.
Right. Yeah. Which is yeah. I mean, if you want to endorse just across the board more political type things for schools in general, that's one thing, right? But when you're picking a particular political ideology, like you said, that may not mesh with other people's political ideologies too.
Yeah.
You're not providing some sort of educational benefit. You're providing a wedge of sorts, because like you said, not everybody's going to be 100% on board on this. And obviously they're not if there are protests going on too. It's really, really disturbing, because this is Arkansas, but this could be any number of states that are led by conservative Republicans that may want to, if it flies in Arkansas, it may fly in Mississippi or Alabama or Georgia or some of these other places, or Texas, and and all you're going to be seeing is just more division over and over again.
Well, and I would say conservative Zionist Republicans.
Yeah, in particular.
Yes, I think that needs to be clarified here. And so, again, this is a particular organization with a very particular worldview that has a martyr, and the wife of the martyr is sitting at the head of this organization. And by the way, I don't know if you saw that there was a video of her giving the speech and saying, young men, particularly, you young white men, don't let them tell you you're bad because you're a young white man. She's calling it out. She's spelling it right out. Yeah. And you young girls too, of course, you need to be, but she's calling it right. She's trying to appeal to that area of resentment. And mind you, again, I oppose any attempt to interfere with what a school club is trying to do. I oppose hecklers' vetoes. I think people there can be strong debate. But when it comes down to interference, of course I'm opposed to that. And I support the right of conservative students to organize. But I think Governor Sanders, and as a matter of fact, I think she knows exactly what she's doing here. I would remind her that even if people didn't vote for her, they are her constituents. And she has a responsibility to champion the rights of all of her constituents in all public schools to learn leadership skills, to form affinity groups, and to engage in free debate. But she singles out this organization. Yeah, we know what's happening.
And a little bit more context too. She's the daughter of former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, who is now the ambassador to Israel and has made some controversial statements about the Greater Israel Project. And, you know, and he is to say he's a big time Zionist is a very, very understated fact there too. So, and I'm sure the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree when it comes to that too. So this may be something too, where this may not even been, it could have been her idea like originally, but she probably could have had some input too. You know, I'm just speculating, but you know, there's a lot of people around her that kind of feel the same way about that stuff. So I'm just hoping these schools kind of take that into consideration. If the kids want to do this organically on their own, that's one thing, obviously. But if, you know, you're getting somebody who's, you know, obviously part of this propaganda to you know, because Turning Point USA is, I have my problems with them, you know, and the messages that they're putting out there too. So.
Yeah, and one thing I will also tell you, organically, yes. I mean, again, the students can and should do what they wish, but we know that there are organizations out there that take advantage of the opportunities that schools provide to clubs and organizations so that they can take advantage of those resources. For example, the schools and clubs will provide free meeting space to these students, where otherwise you might have to pay for it someplace else. Students may be able to get free or discounted AV equipment. In some cases, schools and clubs can get money from the student funds. Now, usually political organizations or religious organizations won't get that, but I believe that will vary by school. So keep in mind that it is to the advantage of large national organizations to create as many club chapters in schools as possible, not just because they're trying to capture young minds, but those schools have resources that those major organizations can take advantage of for free or at very low cost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know, this goes to like, I mean, if this again, like if this was like private schools, this probably wouldn't be an issue because it's private schools. You know, they're gonna do what they want anyway. But to put these into public schools, that's a very different kettle of fish, to be sure. Speaking of Israel, let's get to our new segment, the Man of War Stings. And yes, lots of airstrikes going back and forth. Apparently, leaders on both sides have been killed. It's crazy town over there for sure.
Yeah.
The IRGC launches revenge attacks on Israel after assassination of Ali Larijani. So he's the latest Iranian. He was the Supreme National Security Council head, and he was killed. So Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, announced today that a series of retaliatory missile strikes on Israel launched shortly after Tehran confirmed the assassination of Supreme National Security Council Chief Ali Larijani. That's him right there. The Tel Aviv, the center of the evils of the savage Zionist entity, was subjected in the 61st wave of Operation True Promise 4. There's been 61 waves of missiles heading to Israel from Iran, to a barrage of missiles, including the multi-warhead Khorram Shah 4, the multi-warhead Qadr, Imad, and Khaybar Shekan, under the slogan Ya Abba Abdallah al-Hussein, peace be upon him, the IRGC said. The operation was launched in revenge for the blood of the martyr Dr. Ali Larijani and his companions. The missiles in this rapid and intensive operation, and due to the collapse of the Zionist entity's multi-layered and highly advanced air defense system, successfully struck more than 100 military and security targets in the heart of the occupied territories without any hindrance. And just kind of to let you know there, what they have in Israel is the Iron Dome with their interceptors, which are running dangerously low in number. And it appears like their advanced early warning system has been knocked out as well. But we're getting very sparse reports out of Israel because, of course, the censorship there, they're actually giving people prison terms for leaking any video, audio, anything like that out of Israel when it comes to the damage being done. So the IRGC claimed over 230 Israelis were killed and wounded in its strikes. The wave consisted of several cluster warhead ballistic missiles, which were launched towards Tel Aviv. A building in Bnei Brak, east of Tel Aviv, was struck directly by an Iranian missile. At least 2 were killed. Hebrew reports indicated over a dozen impact sites. Heavy Israeli military censorship, as we said, has been imposed, as is normally the case. The Israeli attack, which assassinated Larijani, took place overnight between March 16th and 17th. Iranian state television and the Supreme National Security Council confirmed the assassination late on Tuesday. Larijani's son and several of their companions were killed in the Israeli attack as well. Like we said, he was the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council and a close advisor to former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was assassinated on February 28th. The slain leader studied mathematics and computer science at university before earning a master's degree and a PhD in Western philosophy. Larijani has authored several books, particularly on the works of German philosopher Immanuel Kant. In August of last year, Larijani became the Supreme National Security Council chief, succeeding Ali Akbar Ahmadi as the result of a decree issued by Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. Larijani also headed the Iranian parliament for 3 consecutive terms between 2008 and 2020. Between 1997 and 2004, he served as the chief of the IRIB, the Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting. Prior to that, he served as Minister of Culture and Islamic Guidance between 94 and 97. Larijani has been a central figure in Iran's high-level decision-making, particularly following the supreme leader's assassination. And we have to remind people, too, that Iran's, though their leadership structure is much different than a lot of countries do, especially one that has been preparing for some sort of attack from the West for almost 50 years, right? So I believe one of the many mistakes that Trump made was attacking Iran, thinking, oh, well, we'll kill the supreme leader and we'll just go in, take the oil, do whatever we want, and that kind of thing. And they can't, it was the old fuck around. And now they're finding out that that's not the case. And you're seeing a lot of these U.S. bases getting torn up around the region, too. It's a really hot mess. And like I say, even though they've killed this person, that doesn't mean that their leadership structure is weakened. It probably is to a small extent. But like I said, they've been preparing for this kind of thing for 50 years. And I don't think it's going to deter them that much.
No. And, now we're playing, instead of Where's Wally, we're playing, where's BB? We don't even know that at this point.
Where's BB?
Yeah.
With the hat with stripes and stuff like that. Yeah, because at least Iran is saying, look, our people are dead. This is what happened to them. And in Israel, they're like, we ain't telling you anything. We're putting out these fake AI videos, with him with the coffee cup and then the ring that appears and disappears. And you can tell it's all AI fakery. And it's like, well, why are you doing this if BB's actually alive?
Yeah, I mean, there's a real possibility that they're doing this as a psyop. They're doing this to destabilize people and get people talking. That's a possibility as well. And that's one of the things, one of the joys of AI, Uncle Warren. We've been talking about this for weeks. Is that it's untrustworthy, and because of it, people cannot trust the news. It gets people on edge, thinking in some very strange ways that were really probably didn't evolve to think. And so there's a real possibility that he is alive and this is a psyop, but we don't know.
Yeah, and we may never know.
Yeah.
You know, because this AI, these AI slop, as the kids like to call it, that they put out is, I mean, it's not horribly obvious that it's fake, right? You really have to, like, if you've worked with video, especially like video editing or any kind of video processing, or if you worked with AI long enough that you know, you see some of this stuff and you know what to look for. You look, they're some of their some of their excuses was, oh well, that's just some sort of video artifact why it did that, right? But really, six fingers, a ring that's there, then it's gone, then it comes back, then it's gone. You know, unless this is Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know of any magic rings that do shit like that in Earth 2026. I could be wrong. Maybe it is magic. Maybe he's got a magic ring. You know, could be. Got it out of a Cracker Jack box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His Lucky Charms?
Yeah, exactly. Right? You're just like, oh, magic ring. It's here. It's gone. It's here. It's gone. Well, one person that's calling out the propaganda, or the real reason why we attacked Iran, is Joe Kent, and he has resigned. And who is Joe Kent? He is the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center Director. Joe Kent resigns over the Iran war. He's basically second in command to Tulsi Gabbard over there at the Defense Intelligence. Is it the Defense Intelligence Agency? I'm not quite sure, but
Director of National Intelligence. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, DNI. That's right. The
DNI,
Director of National
Intelligence.
Yeah. Which is a oxymoron, or maybe ironic that it's in the Trump administration, but I digress. So Director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism, which advises both Trump and the Director of National Intelligence, which is Tulsi Gabbard, on terror threats, has resigned over the war with Iran. In a resignation letter posted on the tweeters, Kent said he could not in good conscience support the ongoing war. I know maybe some of you have seen it on Twitter or elsewhere. It's the long letter that he wrote to Trump. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby, he said. He pointed to Trump's past pledges to end U.S. engagement abroad, writing, "You understood that wars in the Middle East, you being Trump, were a trap that robbed America of the previous lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. The resignation is the most high profile from the Trump administration since the U.S. and Israel launched attacks on Iran on February 28th. Kent's reference to the term imminent threat is also significant. Such imminence is considered a prerequisite for U.S. presidents to launch military attacks without congressional approval under U.S. law. It's also significant to launch legal attacks on sovereign nations under international law." Trump dismissed the resignation shortly afterwards, telling reporters, "Oh, we thought he was weak on security and didn't know him well. It's a good thing he's out because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was." Which there was really no evidence of that. I believe, I can't remember who was the commentator who said this, but it was funny. He goes, if they've been an imminent threat for 47 years, that's not imminent. That's something totally else, something totally different. Trump nominated Kent to lead the role after formally endorsing his unsuccessful campaign for the U.S. House of Representatives. Kent had previously been a U.S. Army Ranger and member of the U.S. Special Forces, serving 11 combat deployments in the Middle East. His wife was killed by an ISIS suicide bomber in Syria back in 2019. In his resignation letter, Kent referenced his wife's death, saying she had been killed in a war manufactured by Israel. Referring to the Iraq War, where Israel pressured Bush to go in there. That was at the time, we went into Afghanistan looking for Osama bin Laden, and then all of a sudden Bush says, we're gonna go into Iraq too, and everybody was like, what? What does Iraq have to do with this? Well, now you know what it has to do with it. He said, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people, nor justifies the cost of American lives, he wrote. So far to date, 13 U.S. soldiers have been killed since the war began. At least 1,444 people have been killed in Iran, 20 across the Gulf region, and at least 15 in Israel. In a statement following Kent's Senate confirmation in July, DNI head Tulsi Gabbard, Director Tulsi Gabbard praised him as someone who has consistently put country before self, enduring great personal sacrifice to that service. And this is just more of his backstory here. His experience serving as the tip of the spear in some of the world's most dangerous battlefields has given him a deep practical understanding of the enduring and evolving threat of Islamist terrorism, as well as the threats we face from the cartels, human trafficking, and drug trafficking operations. She said, two Democrats had opposed Kent's nomination, pointing to his past support of Trump's unfounded claims that the U.S. election in 2020 was stolen and his characterization of people arrested during the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol as political prisoners. So, yeah, he was definitely a Trump dude for sure, which makes this even more crazy. And then it talks about his far-right ties with Nick Fuentes and whatnot here. So in his resignation letter, Kent also echoed the criticism of several influential figures in Trump's so-called Make America Great Again movement. Many have condemned Trump for entering into the war with Iran despite campaign pledges to end long-term U.S. military engagement and put America first. Exactly, right? That this is this is just another hammer on the wedge that's going on in MAGA right now. You still have your cultists who believe Trump no matter what, but then you also have those who are like, hey, look, we you said no more wars. You were supposed to be the peace president. They just didn't realize which peace he meant. Maybe like the PIECE, as in everything is in pieces. I know it's kind of a stretch, but so this high profile resignation, is it going to lead to more? One other question is, where's Tulsi Gabbard in all this?
Tulsi Gabbard is not a Christian. She's Hindu, although her father is Catholic, but she chose to be Hindu when she got older. Now, what I want to point out here is this is something I've been hammering on for the past few weeks, is that when we talk about conservative Christian beliefs, there is even Christian nationalists. There is a range of opinions on things, and there are wedges being formed. One of the things is this guy is a Roman Catholic. He is, in fact, going to be speaking at an event sponsored by Catholics for Catholics. And among other people who are going to be there will be General Michael Flynn. Remember him from the first Trump administration. Candace Owens, Matt Walsh, Carrie Prejean. Anti-Zionist Catholics are going to be here. And in fact, if you check out their website, they even have a whole section about the Catholic view of Zionism and the skepticism there. So this is an anti-Zionist, or it sounds like, or at least somebody who is a Zionist skeptic, who is a Roman Catholic, a conservative Roman Catholic. And we're seeing these fractures. And again, one thing that I'm thinking is it may be that Trump and the people who have his ear are simply religiously illiterate and never bothered to point out to him that you can't just expect conservative Christians to go along with this, because many of them reject Zionism and in some cases are full-on anti-Semites. So again, I think that there was a serious miscalculation here, possibly due to religious ignorance, or again, they knew this was going to happen and they're trying to cause a collapse even within the conservative Christian realm to create more chaos. That's another possibility as well. We have to keep our minds open to what's going on here. Pro wrestling rules, kayfabe, the idea is that people are perfectly willing to use anything to create a good storyline, and they're always willing also to test. They will absolutely test to see where the fans' attention is going, and then they'll change up the storyline the next week or the next show. So this is, I was reading about this guy. I'm saying to myself, did a little digging, and I realized what was possibly going on there.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of propaganda going on too, especially like with the number of troops that may be wounded or killed from the United States too. We'll get kind of an update here. 200 plus U.S. troops wounded in war on Iran across 6 countries and Israel. Again, they're kind of doing this thing where they're not. I remember back in the Iraq War, they stopped showing the dead troops coming home, with flag draped coffins. Remember that? They stopped showing that.
I remember it.
Yeah, they were doing it for a while, and then there were so many coming back. They said, "Well, we got to stop this," and that's all part of the propaganda scheme, right? So these numbers may not even be accurate as well. Yeah. More than 200 U.S. troops have been wounded or injured across 7 countries during the ongoing U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. That's according to the Washington Post, citing U.S. military officials. See, again, that's when you're quoting the officials. These are the same people that said at first, "Oh, we didn't bomb that school in Manab." And, it turns out an internal military investigation said, "Oh, yeah, we did, but it was a targeting error." So, it's like these stories change, these numbers change, and you really don't know what to believe. And most of the time, the injuries occurred as Iran launched waves of missiles and one-way attack drones targeting U.S. positions and infrastructure across the region in response to the U.S.-Israeli aggression against the country. The war began on February 28th, and we know how that started. According to U.S. CENTCOM, U.S. troops have been wounded in Bahrain, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Navy Captain Gesundheit. That we know that's not propaganda. That was a real sneeze. Navy Captain Tim Hawkins, the chief spokesperson for CENTCOM, said many of the injuries occurred during the first days of the war when Iranian retaliatory strikes were the most intense. Some cases have only recently been confirmed, he said, as symptoms, particularly those associated with traumatic brain injuries, became apparent days after the attacks. The updated figures mark a rise from the more than 140 injured troops previously reported by the Pentagon last week. At the time, senior Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said 8 U.S. service members had been seriously wounded. Military officials have since reclassified the condition of 2 injured troops, bringing the number of seriously wounded personnel to 10. The war has also resulted in multiple U.S. fatalities, according to U.S. military officials. 7 U.S. troops have been killed in Iranian attacks during the war. 6 additional service members died last week after a KC-135 refueling aircraft crashed in Iraq in what U.S. officials described as an accident involving another aircraft. I would call bullshit on that, but I've seen in the last couple of years some of our aircraft deal. I think, what was it in D.C.? I think at Reagan International Airport, there was a military chopper that ran into a plane or something like that. So I'm like, okay, maybe, but I doubt that's all of these have to do with accidents. Oopsie sauces. Oopsies. Butterfingers. The most significant single attack on U.S. personnel occurred on day 1, February 28th, at Port Shuaiba in Kuwait, where an Iranian one-way attack drone struck a tactical operations center, killing 6 U.S. soldiers. Another soldier died later from injuries sustained in a separate strike on Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. Iran's retaliatory campaign has relied heavily on ballistic missiles and long-range drones targeting U.S. military facilities and infrastructure across West Asia, most notably in the Gulf states there that are housing U.S. bases. U.S. officials say recent American airstrikes have increasingly focused on Iranian missile launchers and drone storage facilities as part of an effort to reduce Tehran's ability to continue launching attacks. The ongoing exchange has expanded the geographic scope of the war, placing U.S. personnel stationed across the region at increasing risk. The injuries and casualties highlight the widening regional footprint of the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, which has drawn military installations in multiple countries into the war. Analysts warn that continued missile and drone exchanges could further increase risks to U.S. forces deployed across West Asia, particularly in states hosting major American bases. The situation has also raised concerns about the potential escalation of the war into a broader regional confrontation. And recently, the foreign minister, Arakchi, I can't remember his first name right now, but he had mentioned apologizing to these Gulf states, saying, look, we're not targeting you, but we're targeting these bases that you're housing, and which kind of is kind of like a backdoor way of saying you probably shouldn't have these U.S. bases in your country
Just
anymore.
a thought. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. It's like the United States would negotiate with Iran under bad faith, because that, like this last time, they were negotiating with them, and the whole time they were planning they're planning their attack in Israel, and now Iran has stated, not mincing words, saying, yes, you guys started this, but we're going to finish it. And they've refused to talk to to what's his name, Steve Witkoff, who has been doing negotiations with them. And Trump, even though he won't admit it, has tried to get them to agree to a ceasefire, and they said no. This time things are different, and I do believe they are definitely different, and God knows what's going to happen next.
Yeah. We've been talking about this pain. Iran may not be able to win, although at this point, I think we need to define what winning means in all of this. But even there, we're in for a host of pain. We just keep on talking about it every week. What's happening to us?
Yeah, it's and Iran has been targeting mostly military sites in Israel, and like we said, the air bases and military facilities in these Gulf region states. And I think it's and when you have Ali Khamenei, the one who was killed originally on February 28th, he had put out a fatwa saying that we're not going to have nuclear weapons. We don't need nuclear weapons. We don't want them, right? But he's dead now, and his son is in charge. And his son is a bit more radical, to say the least, than his father was. So now it's like, okay, you started this with Iran, and now it's almost like the Streisand effect, right? When you're trying to get them away from these so-called nuclear weapons that they have, which they didn't, now they might actually go get one, right? And they don't need to have these above ground facilities to do that. They have, the whole country is practically one big mountainous region. They're storing their drones and a lot of these missiles and stuff underground where the satellites can't reach them. You can't get intelligence on them. They've really, the United States and Israel have really poked a hornet's nest that was much more full of hornets than they anticipated, I think. So
I absolutely agree with you there. And I think that because of the collapse in diplomacy, the fact that there is absolutely no trust there between the countries, that we're looking at the unexpected, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
these
are what is it? These are new waters that we haven't been in yet.
Uncharted waters.
Yeah, it's particularly with Iran, who, like we said, they were attacked yet last year in the 12-day war. It was more of like some of their nuclear facilities for their nuclear power or nuclear enrichment. I'm not quite sure. Some of those were damaged, but they were able to bring those back up, and they retaliated with some missiles towards Israel, and but nothing to this scale where they're just they've unleashed their low end drones and missiles, and now they're bringing out the big guns, the literal big guns, the hypersonics that have like 60 to 80 warheads. I mean, they really did U.S. and Israel really fucked up here too, and they also had no idea that Iran was not only going to be able to close the Strait of Hormuz, but keep it closed. Right? That's what hubris does. When you think you can defeat somebody, and then you find out reality smacks you in the face like a dead fish. And one of the problems there too,
Yep.
is the Strait of Hormuz standoff puts supply of America's generic drug prescriptions at risk. So nearly half of U.S. generic prescriptions originate in India, which relies on the Strait of Hormuz for the arrival of key inputs in drug manufacturing, including petroleum-based materials, and for shipping finished medicines to the U.S. People should not be worried about their medications yet, including high-volume ones for emphasis on yet there, including high-volume ones for diabetes and hypertension, statins, and antibiotics. And most medical distributors keep a 30 to 60-day supply on hand to withstand disruptions. Trump is pressing other nations, including NATO allies and China, to help protect ships during the vital global marine traffic route. Not getting any takers on that one, by the way. The risks from higher oil prices and potential for drug shortages and delays gets more real every day. So when you downplay the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, right? It's not just Earl, y'all. It ain't just about the oil. It's about other things that come through too. What was it? What was that canal that was closed like a few years ago because there was a ship stuck in there? You remember that?
I remember that, and I remember reporting on it.
Was it the Suez? I think it was the Suez Canal.
It could have been, but yeah, that was something.
Yeah, and that was just a ship that was stuck in there.
The Evergreen, I think.
Yeah, it was stuck, and ships weren't getting through, and there was like all kinds of panic and stuff. This is something that provides like 20% of the energy, not just oil, but like liquid natural gas to the world.
Yeah,
and so.
We use an awful lot of that over here in the U.S.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, we just opened oil reserves here, but that's only going to last a handful of months. And like this article said here, most medical distributors keep it 30 to 60 day supply on hand. But what's going to happen after those, 1 to 2 months when these medicines aren't getting through? What is going to happen? Are drug prices going to soar as a result of that, or is it just going to be where are we going to get these drugs from?
Well, you've made some what if predictions there, but I want to say this: a lot of insurance companies, when it comes to medications, they have a formulary. And they say what medications they will pay for, and if your medication's out of that formulary, you might not get you might have to pay more for it. You may have to pay full price for it. And a lot of these companies, these insurers, prioritize generics. If there's a generic available, they won't pay for the brand name. And so you've got a lot of folks out there who are taking generics. And now they may not be able to get those generics. Some people are very dependent on those generics. And yes, they could still get a brand name, but they may have to pay out the nose for it. And you know that insurers are going to drag their feet about updating their formularies. And you also may have a person, for example, they prefer to take a certain generic over another one because they might have a problem with a dye or something that's used. They get better results from one other generic. There are tons of things that can go terribly wrong here, and it is going to be working class, poor, working class, even many middle class people will never be able to afford a brand name drug. And if they're in a bind and their insurer doesn't change their formulary up, and again, that they're going to drag their feet as long as they can on this. Pray to Saint Luigi.
Yeah, right. Saint Luigi, yeah, definitely.
But this is the impact of this on working people, but also the middle class, the upper middle class. There are people who make a lot of money who will still be bankrupted soon if they have to pay exorbitant prices for medications. So this is another way that Iran can cause Americans and people all over the globe, but in our case, Americans, because this is our war along with Israel, can cause our own people just a tremendous amount of pain. And keep in mind, the people who started this war, they can have drugs shipped in, they can have their drugs covered.
Yeah.
They got great health insurance.
Yeah.
Not everybody else.
Yeah, they have the best medical care in the world, probably. Chuck makes a good point here too. It might be a good time to switch to natural.
And but many people can't.
If you can.
The so-called natural alternatives are often a bunch of bunkum. And even if they do work, and some of them may, they're not necessarily going to address the very serious medical issues that people have. So okay, fine, take care of yourself. I'm all about taking care of yourself. And if there's one thing about so-called MAHA that I do appreciate, is the idea of preventative health by developing good habits, eating good food, exercising. I'm all about that stuff. But there are people who have there are some things that only medications can do. And they're saying, you don't have to worry about anything yet. Well, 30 to 60 days can go by pretty quick. Remember what happened with the baby formula shortage that we had a few years back?
Yeah, I remember that.
And what happened with that and that difficulty is like, whoa, well, people should be able to get baby formula. Well, not every baby can take every formula. You had older children, for example, and even adults who may depend on formulas because they have very specific digestive issues. That's what they have to take. So again, this could get really ugly really quickly.
Well, I guess if this drags out long enough, we're going to find out what medications people actually really, really need and what they really, really don't. And those prices are going to go up. And as we get into the recurring tide, speaking of prices going up, of course, our utilities, particularly our electric bills, are soaring, not starting, they're continuing to soar. So U.S. Electric bill up $110 or about 6.4% under Trump in 2025. Over 2 weeks into the Trump's and Israel's illegal war on Iran, which is driving up oil prices, as we said, around the world. Democrats on the Congressional Joint Economic Committee reviewed Tuesday that the average annual U.S. electric bill increased by $110 or 6.4% last year. The Democratic JEC staff compared monthly data from the Federal Energy Information Administration for 2024, when Trump was campaigning to return to office against then Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris, and 2025, when the Republican returned to power, having repeatedly promised to cut electric bills in half. Yeah, he made a lot of promises that haven't come to fruition for sure. The JEC report highlights that last year's national average was even higher than the increase the committee projected last November. Plus, annual electricity costs were higher in 2025 in nearly every state and were at least 10% higher in 12 states and D.C. The states with the highest annual bills were Connecticut and Hawaii, which each had an average of $2,490 for 2025. Yikes. They were followed by Alabama at $2,230, Maryland at $2,220, Massachusetts at $2,190, Texas at $2,080, and Florida at $2,010. In terms of the largest increases last year, D.C. saw the biggest jump, a 23.5% rise from $1,360 to $1,680. That's about $320 more. New Jersey led all states with a 16.9% hike from 1540 to 1800, followed by Illinois, 15.9%, Pennsylvania at 12.1%, Kentucky at 11.8%, Maryland and Tennessee at 11.6%, New York at 11.4%, Ohio at 11.1%, and Missouri at 11%. So about from 11 to around 16% there on average for those states. American families don't need a report to tell them that the president has broken his campaign promise to slash energy costs. They already feel the impact of Trump's actions every single day, said Senator Maggie Hassan. She's from New Hampshire, the panel's ranking member. But this report is yet another indication that sky-high costs are continuing to rise and are continuing to hurt American families. Throughout last year, lawmakers and other experts warned of various policies expected to drive up utility bills, including the Republican budget package or the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act, 1BBBB, which eliminated tax credits for solar and wind energy. The Trump administration is also advocating for the construction of artificial intelligence data centers, of course, those AI data centers that love to drink in the water and the electricity. Despite warnings that the unregulated buildup of such facilities is causing local electricity costs to soar, plus threatening nearby communities and the global climate. Even though some of these companies like Amazon, I believe, have said, "Oh, well, don't worry, we're gonna take care of our own electricity, and we're only going to use like a fraction of the water in the community." And it's like, yeah, bullshit. Come on. Nobody believes that shit anymore. Especially with it being unregulated like that. They're going to do whatever the hell they want to. But there's also U.S. liquefied natural gas exports, which are not only exacerbating the fossil fuel driven climate emergency, but also pushing up energy prices for Americans, as Public Citizen detailed. In a December report, the watchdog noted that 1 in 6 Americans, that's 21 million households, are behind on their energy bills, which are rising at twice the rate of inflation. Energy Secretary Chris Wright and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum have acted as global gas salesmen traveling to Europe to push exports and gut European methane regulations while attacking mainstream climate science. Tyson Slocum, report author and director of the Public Citizens Energy Program, said at the time. Meanwhile, Trump has done nothing to keep prices down at home. He loves those tariffs, though. That's another thing that's jacking things up, too. The report preceded big oil-backed Trump launching a war on Iran without congressional authorization while causing oil prices to skyrocket. His Operation Epic Failure, Epic Fury, is expected to boost the U.S. liquid natural gas industry, with one expert projecting earlier this month that American companies could see up to $20 billion per month in windfall profits if the global market is deprived of Qatari gas under the summer. And isn't that how it is? Yes, those Texas oilmen are going to be getting all that money because there's the lack of, because the Strait of Hormuz being closed. And was it Qatar that a lot of these liquid natural gas facilities were getting destroyed? So they're not even shipping it out right now. It's the same old, Laney. The rich are going to get richer off of this, and the rest of us are going to have to foot the bill.
Yeah, and the only thing I'm going to add about this is that there are a few things you can do about your energy bill. I'm not trying to take away from the very poor decision making by our so-called leaders that has led to this, but I will say a few things here. First of all, if you're having problems with your energy bill, your utility company may have a program. Some of them do. You can directly contact them to ask about their programs. One thing that I'm on here is I'm on the budget plan. So they have an estimate of how much the household here uses for energy, and I pay an equal amount every month. So at least I know what to expect and what's coming up. So that is an option. The other thing is that in some areas where if you are receiving any kind of public assistance, you can ask them if they have a program for reduced energy bills. Sometimes when you apply for food stamps, for example, like in Illinois, when you apply for food stamps, they look at you for everything, for every possible program. So that can happen as well. Sometimes charities will also help with the bills. Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, you can contact them to see if they have a problem. But you want to get in early because oftentimes these programs, they get a certain amount of money and then it runs out very quickly. So you have to be proactive. Don't wait until you've gotten the final disconnection notice. Also, if there is a citizens utility board or there's some kind of oversight or organization in your state or in your area, contact them, visit their website. They may have ideas for you that the utility company will not tell you about. And also, I'm very sorry that you have to deal with this.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's probably it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better, especially with what's going on with these data centers, and of course the war in Iran too. So one of the things people have been investing in is in gold, but gold seems to be stagnating now. As why aren't gold prices rising despite the Iran war uncertainty? So yeah, usually when there's something going on like your Iraq war, Afghanistan, or anything like that, gold tends to shoot up. But this time, not so much. As the war in Iran entered its 18th day on Tuesday, the price of gold, usually considered the safe haven asset in times of uncertainty, has remained unexpectedly steady since the U.S. and Israel first launched strikes on Iran last month. The conflict has escalated across the region, sparking concerns about the knock-on effect for the global economy. On March 2nd, Ibrahim Jabari, a senior advisor to the commander-in-chief of Iran's IRGC, announced that the Strait of Hormuz, through which, as we said, 20% of the world's oil and gas is transported, was closed, a move that sent oil prices soaring above $100 per barrel. And of course, it's fluctuating. Stock prices have also fallen over the past 2 weeks amid uncertainty over the Iran war, but gold prices have remained steady. Gold has remained broadly steady at around $5,000 an ounce in recent days. On Tuesday, spot gold was almost flat at $5,001.36 per ounce. As of 11 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Spot gold is the price at which physical gold is bought and sold for immediate delivery. U.S. gold futures for April delivery rose just 0.01% to $5,005.20. Is this unexpected? Yes, this lack of movement is surprising given that gold prices typically shoot up during economic crises as investors look for safe havens to shelter their cash. This is especially true during periods of global conflict. For example, when Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, gold prices skyrocketed. Remy Bourgeot, economist at the French Institute for International and Strategic Affairs in Paris and author of analysis platform Epstein, talked to Al Jazeera. That's this outfit here. The subsequent sanctions imposed on Russia by Western nations created a wave of panic among central banks and completely changed the dynamic behind gold prices, with countries like China embarking on a historic buying streak to reduce their dependence on the U.S. dollar, he said. However, with the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, there has been a different response. Traders may be anticipating that the U.S. Federal Reserve will halt interest rate cuts and perhaps even raise rates in response to rising inflation. James Medway, a former economic advisor to the UK's Shadow Chancellor, the Shadow Chancellor knows, and currently council member of the Progressive Economy Forum, said that makes dollar assets more attractive and gold, which pays no interest, less, Medway explained. He added that investors have expected the U.S. to cut interest rates for some time. Another factor is that gold was already performing well at the start of this year. Yeah, you remember the silver and gold spike that was occurring. Gold has risen so much before that it is reacting less now to the war, Medway said. Rebecca Christie, a senior fellow at the Bruegel think tank, that's my old job, echoed this, noting that gold has been trading far above historic levels this year. There are other factors in play because the dollar has strengthened and because gold is traded in dollars. it may be harder for interested investors to push the price up, she said. Yeah, she said. Also, a rising dollar provides an alternative safe haven choice, and higher oil prices probably will lead to higher inflation, which will also make the dollar more attractive. Is gold still a safe bet? Not at the moment. It's not seen as much of a hedge against the uncertainty as it was 2 years ago, Borjo said. I think there's really a great deal of understanding at this point that gold has become a very speculative asset, he said, adding that typical gold investors, which include central banks, tend to be more risk averse and may have been spooked by the volatility of gold in the current crisis. So what's next? Experts say it's difficult to make predictions given the uncertainty in the Middle East. Yeah, like we said, well, these are uncharted waters. Who knows what's going to happen next? For now, it seems like the biggest thing holding gold back from rising further is because it has already risen so much, Christie said. For the price of gold to shift dramatically, Midway said 2 things would need to happen. First would be a clear indication from the Federal Reserve, which will be getting a new, likely more Trump-friendly chair in May, that interest rates may be cut further despite inflationary pressure, he said. The second would be a change in perception as to the length of the war. At present, there is still some belief that this will be ended fairly quickly, but the longer this drags on and the more the damage spreads, the more attractive gold will start to appear, he said. So, yeah, no gold fever. And it makes sense, too, that usually gold, it reacts to a crisis, to something like this that's going on now. But like the article said, gold already had jumped up.
Yeah.
And so it's not going to jump up any further, at least not in a dramatic way anytime soon, unless something else dramatic happens during, these uncertain times with Iran.
Yeah, and that makes a whole lot of sense to me. And of course, there is the conspiracy theorist part of me that is saying, well, also it's true that gold isn't good for. Well, I mean, gold can be good for some things in electronics and that sort of thing, but you can't eat it, and it's not really a very efficient energy source. And maybe, people are more interested in keeping up businesses that deal in these matters, these products, and keeping that up as well. But it's an interesting analysis, and it is definitely something to, I think, to keep our eye on, particularly as this ridiculous war continues. And it might be a bit of a barometer.
And one of the reasons why silver and gold had spiked earlier this year is more than likely, or at least in part, because of the rise of these data centers. Because of silver and gold are used in electronics. I'm not saying that's 100% what happened, but that was definitely a significant factor in the spike. If you have a significant increase in data centers around the country within the next year, you might see another spike of it going up too. But like you said, you can't eat it. Yeah, and if you do eat it, you probably get sick.
Well, as Chuck points out, you can eat gold leaf, and sometimes they'll put that on desserts and things like that. But that's just goofy. I mean, I've done it.
You get the Goldschlager with the gold
flakes.
Yes. I was never into that. I was like, I don't want to drink gold. I want to spend.
I like it. I like cinnamon, but no, it's just it's just goofy.
Cinnamon Gold was my stripper name back in when I was trying to make money in college. So, Cinnamon Gold coming up on the main stage, guys. Get your money out. This is a fun one here. Government registers aliens.gov domain. What's that about? They've been talking about disclosure, and is this part of it? We'll see. The Executive Office of the President registered the domain aliens.gov on Wednesday, a little after 6:30 a.m., according to a bot that monitors federal domains. There's no associated website just yet, but the registration comes a month after Trump said he would direct the government to release files related to aliens and UFOs in the public. See, Chuck, you should have jumped on that while you had the chance, but you're on there, delivering space pizzas. So, get your priorities straight, bud. This is all about branding. Aliens and UFOs, now often called UAPs, have been a hot news topic over the last few years. Senator Chuck Schumer has pushed for declassification of government reports about strange lights in the sky. Blink 182 frontman Tom DeLonge's To the Stars initiative released Pentagon footage, strange objects seen by Navy pilots, and Congress has held repeated hearings in an attempt to get to the bottom of the phenomenon. Interest died down somewhat last year when the Wall Street Journal reported that much of the information we now have is connected to a disinformation campaign and an elaborate Pentagon hazing ritual. But humans will also look into the sky, and the phenomenon got new attention in February when former President Barack Obama discussed aliens during an interview with Brian Tyler Cohen. Cohen asked Obama if aliens were real. He said, yeah, they're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in Area 51. Whoa, hello. You didn't like my Obama impression there. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States. It's almost a Bill Cosby impression. I got to watch that. The clip went viral. Obama walked this back days later in a post on Instagram. I was trying to stick with the spirit of the speed round, but since it's gotten attention, let me clarify. Statistically, the universe is so vast that the odds are good that there's life out there. Yada, yada, yada. 4 days later, a reporter asked Trump about the incident during a press conference on Air Force One, and he said, well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to do that, Trump said. So are aliens real? And apparently Trump said, yeah, the illegal ones are, because we're trying to get them out. Sorry. Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. Now, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it, but you believe it, Peter? Trump said to some guy named Peter. The president can declassify anything he wants to, the reporter said. Oh, I did that in a Trump voice. I don't care. Maybe I'll get him out of trouble. Maybe I'll get, okay. So he's talking about his thing there. But registering, is this just another smoke screen? Just trying to get the quote unquote tinfoil hats people jumping around about this aliens.gov. They're always trying to do all kinds of stuff to switch the attention from important things to stuff like this. I mean, it could be. I mean, what do you think?
It's like they say, A/B testing. They're testing one thing over here, one thing over there to see what gets people's attention, what distracts people the most. Look, if I don't understand, outside of our friend Chuck, I would think that most self-respecting aliens would not risk the radiation exposure needed to be, hopping around here. And why would they want to deal with this anyways? So at this point, I think that the aliens.gov, I mean, again, this could actually really just grabbing that name, that domain name, is enough to attract attention. It attracted my attention. I thought it was hilarious when I read about it. But there it is. I think that, and the thing of it is that they can, if they do decide to develop the website, which they may or may not do, because remember we have a partial shutdown and all the money is going to ICE. We'll see what they come up with, but I have a feeling that it's a distraction, and if people are responding to it, it will become even more of a distraction.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, if it sticks like that. And, I'm a UFO nut too myself. So I always hear stuff like this and I go, ooh, my ears perk up like a puppy dog's when it happens. But at the same time, I understand how propaganda works, and I understand how deflecting attention from one subject to another works too. So this may be just a subtle attempt at that, or maybe there's actual aliens within the government. They're like, hey, let's do this for us. Okay, can we have
lizard people?
the lizard people? Exactly. Well, put on your trunks. We're going in the press pool, and you may have heard about this a few days ago, but this bears repeating for sure. If I can put this up here. So Trump backs FCC chair's threat to pull licenses of news outlets over Iran war coverage. There's Brandon Carr there, the head of the FCC. So Trump reinforced comments made by Brendan Carr, the chair of the FCC, threatening the broadcast licenses of news organizations that report unfavorably on the war in Iran. In a Truth Social post on Sunday night, Trump said he was thrilled that Carr was, quote, looking at the licenses of some of these corrupt and highly unpatriotic news organizations. They get billions of dollars of free American airwaves and use it to perpetuate lies. This is the new trick. I mean, it's not exactly like the mainstream media is not going along with some of these lies in the war anyway, but I digress. We can talk about that in a second. But Carr wrote in a post on the Twitter Saturday that broadcasters, quote, that are running hoaxes and news distortions, also known as fake news, have a chance now to correct course before their license renewals come up. The law is clear. Broadcasters must operate in the public interest, and they will lose their licenses if they do not. In an interview with Reuters published on Monday, but reportedly conducted before that post, Carr said that he could accelerate reviews of licenses held by broadcast television stations. You can do early renewals, Carr was quoted as saying. When asked, he also said it was possible to revoke broadcast licenses as a result of pending investigations. All of that stuff is on the table. For somebody who's a communication guy to say all that stuff, that's kind of low low quality. He added that it would be a good thing long term to make sure people understand that there are, in fact, things you can do to lose your license and really help broadcasters reorient their operations to the public interest. Carr's comments drew a rebuke from both Democrats and Republicans, noting the First Amendment protects news organizations from government censorship. Trump's comments suggest he will widen his campaign against the media. Trump described Iran as a master of media manipulation, and apparently a master of alliteration, too, noting correctly that AI-generated images had flooded the internet, which news organizations are cautiously navigating. But he then claimed that Iran is working in close coordination with the fake news media in disseminating these images, describing one in which a U.S. aircraft carrier is shown falsely to be burning at sea. He wrote, the story was knowingly fake, and in a certain way, you can say that those media outlets that generated it should be brought up on charges for treason for the dissemination of false information. Pete Hegseth, U.S. Defense Secretary and former Fox News host, lambasted the press at a media availability Friday for what he claimed was unfavorable news coverage. Hegseth barred press photographers from the briefing, reportedly because some photos published of Hegseth had been deemed unflattering. They didn't show his good side, which is funny because he doesn't have a good side. Maybe they shot the back of his head. That probably was the best side. Singling out CNN by name, Hegseth said, the sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better. Oh, really? It's not the first time Trump has threatened broadcasters' licenses. Trump railed against an ABC News reporter who had asked him about the Epstein files last year. I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and so wrong, Trump replied. And we have a great commissioner and chairman who should take a look at that. In February, Carr called for the broadcasters to celebrate America's 250th anniversary by airing patriotic, pro-American content that celebrates the American journey and inspires its citizens by highlighting the historic accomplishments of this great nation from our founding through the Trump administration today. This goes back to AI, right? I think we talked about this in the past, that they want AI even though he's talking about these news networks using AI that, you know, either on purpose or by accident, AI is going to be the piss in the punch bowl, right? It's going to make legitimate video and audio not an effective thing in proving news or even in courts or anything like that. And you're starting to see that now. They're threatening broadcasters, and I know that that irks you, that grinds your gears, right there, Radio Queen.
Absolutely, it does. And I want to clarify and point out also, Senator Ed Markey has come out swinging, wants Carr removed as head of the FCC. He basically, and Ed Markey is the one who is sponsoring the AM for Every Vehicle Act, along with Senator Ted Cruz. And the idea is that broadcast radio, free broadcast radio, must be kept available to the American public. And I want to clarify a few things here. While it is true that radio broadcast media does not pay for the airwaves, it does pay a licensing fee. So the Trump's statement that they're taking advantage of free airwaves, no, they're paying a licensing fee. And I can tell you right now, to run any kind of a broadcast enterprise requires a great deal of money. Absolutely, it's not a small enterprise. Even if you have a very small radio station, for example, there's a heck of a lot of money, including utility bills, which we've been discussing, that go into that. So they are paying licensing fees to the government, and they are required to comply with government FCC regulations. So that is absolutely significant. For him to just boldly threaten, it's the job of the media to bring forth contrarian views when they're based in reality. We know this. In fact, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is down in Arkansas claiming that she is supporting free exchange of information. Granted, she's promoting one ideological perspective in a very specific group. But now we're seeing that it is un-American for there to be discussions about what is going on in war. And we all know that the fog of war is often cut through by journalists.
Yeah.
And this sacred profession, which is in the First Amendment. It is chartered, the freedom of the press. That is a chart. You don't see doctors and dentists, but you do see the press. And I think that this is absolutely critical to see this. This is frightening. It is disgraceful. Now, we know that print media again they don't have to worry about having, you don't need a license to have print media, or at least not on the federal level. But print media has been harmed significantly. Many areas no longer have a local newspaper. We've been reporting on that. And even if you have one, you have the expense of printing that paper, putting it together, the editorial, getting that paper printed and distributed. Broadcast media is called mass media. It's mass media. You can very easily access it. And now they are threatening mass media companies, broadcast companies, a very accessible form of media. This should be of concern to everybody at this point. This is disgraceful. Oh, and by the way, remember we reported a couple weeks back about how the FCC was encouraging radio stations to play music by various American composers, including John Philip Sousa. I don't know if I mentioned, but I was listening to local public station here. I like their classical music program, and sure enough, they had a piece by John Philip Sousa. They know where their bread is buttered. And it was great, don't get me wrong, but this is where we're at right now. This is contemptible.
I mean,
it is the job of journalists to investigate this stuff.
Is there media bias? Absolutely. We've seen that split of you have MS Now giving liberal slants to a lot of news stories, bringing on And of course Fox News for the Republican side, and they both bring on these experts and stuff, and
Yeah.
they have managed to convince a lot of Americans that opinions are news.
Right.
And that's no, news is news. Journalism is news, not opinions. And you also yeah, if you're showing fake video, if you're showing AI video, yes, you should definitely be called out
Yeah.
on that. Definitely. And there needs to be better methods of determining whether this video is AI or not. I mean, you do have some programs, I can't remember off the top of my head, that's able to kind of run through it and say, oh yeah, this is definitely AI. It'll give you a percentage of what they think it is and that sort of thing. But at the same time, you can't have the FCC, threatening just one part of the mainstream media, because they're not talking about Fox News. They're not talking about Fox News because Trump and a lot of his cronies are on there all the time, and they don't seem to have a problem with the misinformation that Fox puts out. Again, there's some of these people, most of these people are just giving their opinions, and those opinions are being misconstrued into news, and there really needs to be more of a clarification there. If the FCC is going to go after anybody there, they should be going after people who are claiming something that is true without any facts backing it up. And it's just our opinion. Well, if they're going to do that, they, should at least sanction them and not, like take them out completely, but say, hey, look, we need to have truth in our journalism and not just this other bullshit too. So.
Yeah, and there's the ability with these regulatory agencies, there's the ability to really slow down hearings, particularly with the government shutdowns that are happening. And if we're looking at renewals and saying, hey, we might throttle something here, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something like folks like us, we have to always keep an eye on and tell you nice folks out there about, because as I always say on my shows, fuckery is always afoot. And speaking of fuckery, let's go to the clownfish school.
Oh yeah,
this is fun stuff. He came to New York for fun. He left seeking $20 million in damages. That sounds like the story of New York for me when I lived there, because everybody's damaged when they leave New York. Fakel Mons arrived in New York City ready for fun. A tourist from Schemmerhofen, I think I said that right, a town in southern Germany. He booked a hotel room in Times Square. Oh God, poor guy. A neighborhood that appeals to many fun-seeking tourists and some very anti-Semitic Elmos that try to get you to take pictures with them for some cash. True story. There's two of them. There's two anti-Semitic Elmos in Times Square. Among other people there too. And he planned to visit the US Open, an event that pretty much everyone sees. Of course, that's tennis. But the trip, by any measure, was a fiasco. The harms Mr. Mans experienced during his short stay in August 2024 were numerous and varied. He would later write, he became nauseated and developed diarrhea and blisters on his tongue after taking a single bite of a taco. Yikes.
What kind of taco?
Oh boy, stop it. And he was ignored and discriminated against as a German, causing him such emotional trauma that he sought the care of a psychotherapist. Yeah, well, if you spend enough time in New York, you probably would want to get a psychotherapist anyway. When he returned to Germany, Mr. Mans filed 3 lawsuits, including 2 in federal court related to his 6-day trip. The defendants included the New York Police Department, Walmart, and a chain of taco restaurants. Mr. Mans demanded $20.1 million in damages. All the defendants described Mr. Mans' claims as unfounded and asked for the lawsuits to be dismissed. The judges agreed, responding to one suit in which Mr. Mans sued Walmart for discrimination because he was unable to connect his German cell phone to a store's Wi-Fi network. Okay, that's a little odd. A federal judge ruled that Mr. Mans could have obtained a U.S. mobile number to access Walmart's Wi-Fi services at any time. Mr. Mans, an engineer and a part-time law student, filed all 3 suits without legal representation. He did not respond to an email seeking comment. His lawsuits were first reported by Gothamist. That's in New York. Schemmerhofen is a hilly town of about 8,000 people, 60 miles southeast of Stuttgart. Locals seeking international flavor in Schemmerhofen might try Canucks Brakunst, a Canadian-themed brewery known for its pulled pork hamburgers, according to a food review website. When Mr. Mance arrived in New York in 2024, he was excited to try something new. He walked into the Times Square outpost of Los Tacos #1 and on 43rd Street and ordered 3 tacos. Oh, yeah, I could have told you. Los Tacos they should call it gross tacos. That place is just
Sounds like more like #2 than #1.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens after you eat those gross tacos. That's for sure. Because his taco experience was too special for me, I made several pictures and videos of the received food. He would later write, your best bet is just go to one of those hole-in-the-wall Mexican joints and get tacos. They're so good. He poured salsa onto the tacos and began to eat. This did not go well. My tongue and mouth were burning immediately, Mr. Mance wrote, and my Apple Watch registered at this time a higher pulse. What kind of salsa did you put on there, Bob?
He was getting aroused.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was
munching on those tacos, you know.
That taco was giving him a higher blood pressure. That's for sure. His symptoms worsened to include gastrointestinal and emotional distress. And couple that with the fact that there are hardly any public restrooms in Manhattan as well. So, yeah, if you're going to eat tacos, you better make sure you're near someplace that has a toilet. So, in a lawsuit he later filed in federal court in the Southern District of New York, Mr. Mance described the restaurant's liability as a failure to warn customers of its hot salsa. He sought relief in the form of $10,000 or $100,000. It kind of reminds me of remember the hot coffee thing with McDonald's.
Yeah, but that was a very different. That was spun by McDonald's. McDonald's had a long track record, which was documented in Discovery, of hyperheating their coffee, and hundreds of people had been injured by it. So that was a different story there.
But now they have to have the warning on there that says caution. This might be lava. Los Tacos #1, which operates 10 restaurants in Manhattan, did not respond to a request for comment. In court documents, the company said that any discomfort Mr. Mann's experience was caused by his own culpable conduct, carelessness, recklessness, and negligence. Judge Dale E. Hayo ruled against Mr. Mance, finding that he had failed to state a claim that Los Tacos negligently served excessively spicy salsa.
So Ho knows tacos.
I mean, Germany isn't really known for tacos anyway, so this guy should have probably done some research in advance, to be fair. After the taco debacle, Mr. Mance spent 4 days in the United States without known incident. Then at 5:30 p.m. on August 29th, he tried to use his phone inside the Walmart Supercenter in Secaucus, New Jersey. He failed. This was a bummer of extreme proportions. The incident caused a big emotional negative impact, Mr. Mance later wrote in this lawsuit, causing flashbacks to acts of discrimination he had suffered in school and at work. I think this guy probably had more issues than what these things are saying. Mr. Mance sued Walmart for $10 million, responding to a request for comment. A spokeswoman referred to Walmart's Wi-Fi policy, which states that the company is not responsible for service interruptions. I mean, it is a free service that they give you. I mean, it's not like you're paying for it or anything, but Walmart filed a motion to dismiss the suit, and a federal judge in New Jersey agreed, arguing in part that a person with a German phone is not a member of a protected class under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Hours after the Wi-Fi imbroglio, Mr. Mance found himself in further distress. At 8 p.m., he later said he saw 2 men assaulting a homeless person near Times Square. That sounds about right. Mr. Mance called 911 and described his location. He said, but the dispatcher required a street address, which Mr. Mance had trouble finding. Police officers eventually arrived, Mr. Mance said, but they refused to take his statement or investigate because the assailants had fled. The officers' disregard gave him insomnia and intrusive flashbacks, Mr. Mance would write, and his doctor diagnosed him with psychosomatic and post-traumatic systems. And if you've ever spent any amount of time in New York City, you'll know that the cops, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Again, he sought $10 million in damages. Again, the defendant said that the only person responsible for Mr. Mance's suffering was, guess who? Mr. Mance. He knew or should have known in the exercise of due responsible care of the risks and dangers involved, the PD said in a court response this week. Mr. Mance dropped his lawsuit despite the litigious fruits of his time in America. Mr. Mance said in the suits that he really did try to have fun here. Unfortunately, his painful salsa experience caused a loss of enjoyment during my very short trip. Next time, try the pizza. The pizza's not going to, give you Montezuma's revenge or whatever the hell's wrong with this guy. That's crazy town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So word to the wise, you go to New York, just stick with the pizza. There's some good pizza options there for you. Chinese food, some really good Chinese food.
Great wine bar. Aldo Somm wine bar. Great stuff.
And your Mexican options are really good. Just maybe just do a little what is it? A little groundwork ahead of your trip to make sure you're off to the right spot.
I think this guy had other issues though.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. German in New York City is probably going to have some problems anyway because it's a little nutty there. It's not clean like Germany is. No. It's we're very
There's
rude
not a
people.
lot of not a lot of order. Not a lot of order. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course you also got to look for the letters to see if the health department's been by it, and even then the health department gets paid off too. So it's just basically bring your own food probably next time when you come to New York. So meanwhile, RFK Jr. ripped for childish AI wrestling video. Loser energy. Let's I got the thing down. So I guess this is AI. I heart junk food. Oh, look at him.
Oh, he's all ripped.
Kicking the shit out of a Twinkie. What the hell? Oh, no. We got to get some help down here. So that's him beating his Twinkie, as it were. That's some pretty fucked up stuff. So Trump's top health goon is under fire for posting an unhinged AI-generated video to advertise a Make America Healthy Again initiative by beating the snot out of a popular snack food. In the clip posted on the Twitter Sunday with the caption, Mahamania snack down. I see what you did there. That's kind of clever, but still. It generated shirtless 72-year-old Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wrestled a man dressed as a Twinkie. Set to Rollin' by Limp Bizkit. I would have played the audio, but when do I get the DMCA? And in reality, who really wants to listen to Limp Bizkit? I mean, at this point, it's 2026. Come on, people. Set to Rollin' by Limp Bizkit. AI Kennedy stretched out his jeans as he kicked and body slammed the costume man before celebrating his win with a scream as fireworks erupt behind him. The Health and Human Services Secretary was immediately mocked for the Eat Real Food ad. Pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Is this really what our administration has become? One critic question. There's some more violence there. Loser Energy said a second, with a third slamming more childishness and self-promotion from Secretary Kennedy's Twitter account. Meanwhile, measles cases rise in Utah. Kennedy, the nephew of U.S. President John F. Kennedy, was appointed as health secretary in February last year. Since then, members of the Kennedy dynasty publicly rebuked RFK Jr.'s support of President Donald Trump and his gutting of key science funding. But no, he's got to be out there kicking Twinkies' asses because that's what people want to see. I think next they should probably have JD Vance out there, maybe in Smurfland, like picking Smurf berries and hanging out. If we're going to do AI fantasies with these officials like that, I think we should do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. And Limp Bizkit, I'm sure he has one.
Chocolate starfish. Come on.
Well, and way too much testosterone will do that.
I keep rolling, 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 rolling. I keep.
Get the man a
How I know.
taco.
No, I know. Yeah, get him a taco. Let him fight that. I bet that taco would kick his ass, though, for sure. Because tacos don't play. Finally today, folks, if you haven't had enough silliness, we yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. Hamish, the drunk Irishman, came out and said 6 more weeks of drinking. No, that's what the Puxatawny Phil. This is this is Ireland Abe, who said, Mark Jameson for everybody. But apparently, they're up in New England. They had a bar that comes to you, right? So what if the bar came to you on St. Patrick's Day? These mini Irish pubs make it a reality. Look at that.
Oh, that's cute. Okay, this is kind of awesome.
I know, right? And look, it's got wheels and they got the truck pulling it. Just don't drink in there and then drive with the truck, because that's probably no good. And then who knows where that little pub's going to end up. Just before St. Patrick's Day, an Irish pub announced one night beneath a basketball hoop in a suburban, one night beneath a basketball hoop in a suburban Massachusetts driveway. Neighbors packed around the bar as music played and Guinness flowed inside a miniature pub that had been towed in for the night. Instead of heading out to celebrate the holiday, the bar had come to them. There, I guess that's the interior there. That's pretty cool.
That is really cool. Okay, I'm kind of loving this.
Maybe they could only serve shots because it was such a small place. I don't know. I'm kidding. There's a big glass right there. The Wee Irish Pub was delivered by Tiny Pubs, a small business run by brothers Matt and Craig Taylor, who build miniature Irish pubs on wheels for holidays, weddings, and backyard parties across New England. Hello, you can go away. Decorated with antique signs, church pews, an electric fireplace, and a bar crafted from the front panel of an 1864 piano. Ooh, that's cool. The pubs recreate the feel of a traditional Irish pub, but are just small enough to fit in a driveway. It's really just a time to forget about whatever's going on in the world, said Mark Coate, who hosted the pub in his Andover driveway last Friday. That's what pubs are supposed to be, for people coming together and having fun. Around 20 people from 5 families whose children grew up together squeezed into the roughly 20-foot long space for Coates' annual holiday party, creating what he felt like a real neighborhood bar. The idea began during the COVID-19 lockdown, when the Taylor brothers, retired from careers in corporate finance, found themselves missing their favorite Irish pub. Look at these pictures, right? So there's one there. It's like a pub parade. One right there. There's one over here, and there's this guy sitting inside there, the brothers. The first version went up in Matt Taylor's driveway in Reading, 12 miles north of Boston. When we were building the pub in this neighborhood, neighbors thought a pub was going to be living here full time, he said. Bo Quimby. Sorry. We had to kind of settle them down a little bit. They worked out until about 1 a.m. The night before their first rental. Matt said he worried the windows might crack when they first towed it down the highway, but it went smoothly. What began as a pandemic project has since grown into a small business with 4 bars, including 2 Irish pubs, booked most weekends throughout the year. The brothers wanted the miniature bars to feel like real Irish pubs, not themed party props. We have Irish friends who told us, "Yeah, better not have leprechauns and stuff in there," Craig Taylor said. So we said, no, it's going to be authentic, although they do sell Lucky Charms, and there is Irish Spring soap in the bathroom. I'm kidding about that last part. They visited Irish pubs around New England while designing the interior, settling on classic colors like Jasper Green and Irish cream. Irish cream. Nearly every detail inside has a story, including the bar built from the front panel of an 1864 piano and church pew salvage from local church for seating. And then it goes on to describe this. A pair of horseshoes from a farm in Ipswich hang above the door for luck, pointed down when guests enter and up when they leave. A hymn rack holds a book of Irish surnames where visitors mark their family names, sometimes with a dollar bill on the page, sparking conversations about ancestry. There are packages of Scampi fries, a popular pub snack imported from Ireland, and a corkboard with patches from police and fire departments, a tradition common in pubs where first responders gather. Craig Taylor said one sign they got it right is when guests begin pointing things out inside. The the scampy fries, a family name, a familiar song, moments when the experience shifts from something novel to something personal. But like most Irish bars, though, you still have to pay a premium to get the guy to play Danny Boy. These days, the cost of everything going up. That's totally up to you and how much you love Irish heritage or hearing Danny Boy played in Irish bars. So there you go. I think that's pretty cool. It's like,
I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't want to drink and drive, you just stay at the house. They'll probably show up right out front. You go, hey, kind of like the ice cream man, only it's the booze guy.
In a litany of bad news today, and uniquely bad news in some ways, this was actually fantastic. I love it. I love what they do. I love what people do with those little tiny spaces anyways. And that is a really cool idea.
Well, it keeps you from drinking and driving.
Yeah.
And with the high cost of gas and fuel these days, you don't have to drive anywhere, period. Just hang out and, maybe rub your 4-leaf clover. And if you're lucky, they'll show up in front of your house. I'd probably like show up I'd probably do one of those things, but it'd be one of these hole in the wall bars like you see like in New Orleans or something. It's just 2 chairs and someone sad behind a bar going, what do you want?
Hurricanes. Have them do hurricanes.
Here, drink this. You'll forget everything. So, So that's all the news that's fit to print for today. Get rid of that. What is going on with you, Lainey? You got anything going on this week?
Oh, got plenty of stuff getting settled back in after being gone for a bit. You've got some work, got plenty of work to do. Got to get this new computer of mine configured the way I want it to, but I'm looking forward to the rest of this week. And I want to say also, as always, I really appreciate everybody turning out today for the show. We really do appreciate you. I've put our link tree in there. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Undercurrent channel on YouTube. The link is in there. That really helps us out with building up this channel. Also, if you wouldn't mind liking or following our Facebook page, our Instagram account, all that stuff helps us. Once we get to a certain number, we can start live streaming directly onto our social medias, not have to use our personal ones. So if you want to help out with that, that'd be great as well.
Yeah, we're constantly evolving around here, adding new things, more ways for you to watch and become part of the community here as well. Like I said, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Rumble, we're on Instagram, and we're also on Substack when it's working. I don't know if it's working or not today, to be honest with you. Let me just double check and see if we're on there. Are we on there? I don't think it wants to do it. Okay, well, Substack's kind of a crapshoot, to be honest with you. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you're a super fan of Substack, just keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully, we'll get that sorted out. A lot of times it's their fault too, and it's just like, I guess they're not used to streams and stuff. Yeah. But our Substack with the links, our show notes are on there. Definitely, you can be guaranteed those are on there as well.
Yeah.
I'll be back Friday morning for Morning Extra. Of course, that's at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and maybe Substack if it works. Secret Show Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific time. I may do a show this evening. I may do an extra bull live just talking about the war in Iran, or just maybe having just like a community hangout, just people just talking about different subjects. We don't necessarily have to have a guest on that show. We could do other things. I haven't figured it out yet. I have other stuff I have to do, like clips and stuff like that today. But if I do, I'll let everybody know. Otherwise, this show will be back next week at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, sometimes Substack, and probably on some other channels that we haven't even talked about that might surface and scare the hell out of you. So we hope that's the that doesn't happen because we don't want to be reliable. We don't have insurance. So we'll try to be cool. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, folks, there's a lot of bad news this week, a lot of very puzzling and confusing news predicaments. But, you look at that last story about the ingenuity of these guys, and people are still out, they're still celebrating, they're singing, dancing, drinking, coming up with great business ideas. So look to that. It doesn't mean that the other bad stuff isn't happening, but there's still so much good stuff happening. Pay attention.
And in the spirit of drinking, we can always turn to the wise words of Chumbawamba, as I paraphrase, we get knocked down, but we get up again. Oh, you're never going to keep us down. And then they talk about drinking some other shit. So anyway, thanks, everybody. Appreciate y'all for watching. Appreciate you hanging out with us, being part of this community. We love each and every one of you. All our links are down below. We also have our mutual aid links down below, too. If you see on the screen, I've actually, I can't really do it right here. If you see on the crawl down below there, we've actually added our YouTube channel there, too. So if you look down there, you're like, well, where the hell is this damn YouTube channel? You'll see it right down there. But also you can check out the link tree, too, and it gives you all that information as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great rest of your week. Peace.